Barack Obama didn't rise to power by force. He didn't inherit a dynasty. He didn't fit the mold of what a president looked like. He wasn't the loudest voice in the room, but when he spoke, the world listened. Because Barack Obama didn't lead through noise, he led through hope, through calm, through clarity, through the unshakable belief that things could get better. He was born on August 4th, 1961, in Honolulu, Hawaii, a place distant from the mainland, distant from the centers of power. His father, Barack Obama Sr., came from Kenya. His mother, Ann Dunham, from Kansas. Their worlds couldn't have been more different. But somehow, their paths crossed in a university classroom. Their love was brief, their marriage short, but it created a child who would carry the weight of both continents, both legacies, both histories. Young Barack, Barry to his friends, grew up between worlds. He lived in Indonesia for a time, then back to Hawaii. He was raised not by his father, but by his mother and his grandparents. He was biracial in a time when that was still a question. He was smart, observant, quiet, but never unsure of who he was becoming. He read, he listened, he thought deeply. He was, even then, preparing for something bigger. But he wasn't perfect. He partied, he searched, he wandered like any young man. For a while, he wasn't sure who he wanted to be. Not a politician. Not yet. He just wanted to matter. He found his footing at Occidental College in Los Angeles, then transferred to Columbia University in New York. The city was tough, cold, unforgiving. But it sharpened him. He worked as a community organizer in Chicago, making little money, but gaining something priceless: purpose. He saw neighborhoods abandoned, voices unheard, families fighting systems they never designed. And instead of turning away, he leaned in. That was the beginning. He went to Harvard Law School and didn't just attend. He made history. In 1990, he became the first black president of the Harvard Law Review. Not because of his name, not because of power, because of brilliance, because he could unite, because even then he spoke with a vision people wanted to follow. After Harvard, he could have taken any job: Wall Street, corporate law, $1 million path. But he returned to Chicago, taught constitutional law, continued organizing, married Michelle Robinson, a force of strength, elegance, and brilliance in her own right. Together, they weren't a power couple, they were a purpose couple, and their journey was just beginning. In 1996, Obama ran for the Illinois State Senate. Quiet campaign, grassroots, door to door. He wasn't famous, but he listened, and people noticed. He spoke not at people, but with them. And in 2004, with a single speech at the Democratic National Convention, everything changed. No one knew who he was when he walked on stage, but by the time he walked off, the world couldn't forget his name. There's not a liberal America and a conservative America. There's the United States of America. It wasn't just a line. It was a signal, a whisper that maybe, just maybe, politics could be about something better. In 2008, he ran for president. The world watched in disbelief. A black man, with a name like Barack Hussein Obama, in post-9/11 America, running for the highest office in the land. The odds were impossible, the skepticism endless. But Obama wasn't running on race. He wasn't running on resentment. He was running on hope. Yes, we can wasn't just a slogan. It was a movement. It electrified young people, inspired the unheard, and terrified the establishment. He wasn't perfect. He wasn't without missteps. But he was real, calm in chaos, measured in storms. And when he spoke, it didn't feel like a politician. It felt like a reminder of what leadership could be. On November 4th, 2008, America changed forever. In Chicago's Grant Park, in front of a sea of faces, black, white, young, old, Barack Obama stood with tears in his eyes and history in his hands. The first black president of the United States. Not because the country was post-racial, but because the country was ready to believe in progress. He inherited chaos, an economic collapse, 2 wars, a divided nation. But he didn't flinch. He steadied the ship, passed the Affordable Care Act, something generations had tried and failed to do, gave 20 million Americans access to health care, saved the auto industry, oversaw the operation that killed Osama bin Laden, supported marriage equality, dignified diplomacy over destruction. He wasn't flashy. He didn't scream. But step by step, brick by brick, he built something lasting. And through it all, he stayed grounded. He played basketball. He danced with Michelle. He joked with staff. He read letters from Americans every night. People who told him their pain, their dreams, their fears. And he carried it with him. Every day. Not everyone loved him. Not everyone agreed with him. But even his critics rarely doubted his integrity. He didn't fuel hate. He didn't divide for votes. He spoke to the better angels of our nature, even when the country didn't always listen. In 2012, he was re-elected. Another chapter, another victory. And when his 8 years ended, he left the office the way he entered it, with dignity. He didn't cling to power. He didn't burn the system down. He walked away with his head high and his legacy intact. A leader, a father, a husband, a man who had become the embodiment of possibility. Now, in his post-presidency, he writes, he speaks, he mentors, but most of all, he reflects. Not on his fame, not on his title, but on what it all meant. He knows the work isn't done. He knows democracy is fragile. He knows hope needs protecting. And even now, he's still reminding us, yes, we can. Yes, we still can. Barack Obama wasn't perfect. He was human. But in an era of chaos, he was calm. In an age of noise, he was reason. In a world of division, he was unity. He didn't shout. He didn't boast. He simply believed. And sometimes, that's all it takes to change the world. Because Barack Obama is more than a president. He is proof that history bends not just to power, but to hope. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And for more motivational stories and inspiring biographies of world-famous personalities, make sure to subscribe Millionaire Dad so we can learn and grow together. See you in the next one.